There's actually a
No,
story with a
bro.
brewery.
You're French Canadian. That's what that looks like.
I like how she
That's
put us
that's
live.
Fur trapper.
that's a
playing
French
the thing.
Canadian fur
Oh shit, we're live.
trapper. Like
No, we're
has
live. It's all right.
moonshine all the time.
We're
ass
here.
mustache.
This is a
Are
good
you
start.
guys
It's
up
too
by-
late, Lumpy.
Welcome back, Ivan.
Hi.
Wait a sec.
Hi, everyone. Jeez Louise. You
So-
can't get everybody that
Wait a
can show up
sec.
here. We can't play the intro. We got a mouse.
Where's the intro? 'Cause it didn't come on.
No,
Don't
it's
worry.
too late. We're already in. So
That was
we're gonna pretend that none of that. There's no evidence that happened.
You cut it there,
That's
and
mad
then you
funny.
make a blooper reel.
Much like how Stalin,
Go on.
wrote the Soviet archives himself, and got rid of everybody he didn't like, a la Prax Ben. That
And
didn't
photoshopped
happen.
everything.
If you saw all that in the beginning, it did not happen. Capitalism is gaslighting you. Dear Larry, my Lord and Savior, please watch over Cruz. Amen. Yeah, you were dying, bro, when you were.
I was.
You were ready to
That
go.
shit got
You just
me.
couldn't keep it together.
I lost it, but I'm here now, and I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, I guess we'll find out how I feel in a little while, in a couple rounds that we do this. Oh, Lumpy's here, so surprise, just
I'm
Lumpy,
Ivan too.
who's also. We're all Ivan here.
All right, I just want to. I'm kicking you out for 1 second. Everyone has to see.
Why?
Everyone has to see a
Why?
picture.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Picture
Oh
of.
my god.
Yay!
Now, how are we gonna convey that?
Whoa.
In the audio only form?
Bro, what the fuck? Yay!
We're never
Jesus.
beating the cult allegations.
No, we're a hell of a cult. I think that's
Yeah.
just apparent now. That's why I have. Why do you think I have my hair the way I do?
Yeah, that's true. I'm just too lazy to move all my stuff and set up my camera. But maybe when Lumpy gets her chops a little bit more in the back rooms, I can be a little bit more fluid with my. Because my plan was, let me just use the iPad and whatever. But that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. Anyway, welcome back to the podcast. Codpass. Yep, Codpass. This is a fish-based, aquatic-based podcast now going forward. Glub.
We can talk about sharks. Like in our Discord, we had like a very lengthy conversation about sharks. So.
Oh, speaking of the Discord, so anyone who saw that monstrosity, if you want to understand those inside jokes, then head over to the link tree on our Kollectiv bio, also in our About section on the YouTube page for a Discord invite. I promise you, it is just as unhinged as it sounds. That's probably as much promotion as I have the energy for. Let's keep it rolling. Discord. Yeah, join it. There's a lot of conversations about feet, a lot of conversations about communism. For
God damn it.
for some people, that's really gonna
Son
be
of a bitch. I will not tolerate the feet convos. Ivan might, but under my watch.
I don't, but you're more. You got
The type
more
of conversations
eyes on it
depends
than me.
on whether or
It's
not
not
the head of
happening.
the NKVD is the one watching.
He can smell crime and feet with that nose. Anyway, how are y'all doing in this capitalist hellscape today?
I worked today.
Baller.
And then I walked home. And I've been sitting here at my computer ever since.
Now, how are you willing to talk shit about your job? Because I know that's pretty new.
It's very interesting because I'm very much surrounded by very liberal types,
Mhm.
And it's been a long time since I've been in a workplace where I'm just like hearing random jokes and shit that are vaguely racist,
Oh no.
or like they don't hear it as racist, but it's definitely kind of racist with it's like the boomer humor, you know?
Yeah, it reminds me at one of my last jobs I was at. One of the people in the office was gonna go on like a trip to India, and I just remember like everyone making jokes, and you could figure out what those jokes were.
Mhm.
But I remember as supervisor being like, "Who even wants to go to India?" And I'm like, "Ugh, "This is cringe. This is cringe. Please stop." But you know, that's white boomers for you. But I'm glad you're
Yeah,
enjoying it.
it's fun. It's fine. But it's not an environment I'm used to being in anymore. It's been a really long time since I've been in that environment.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear you, eventually pop off on your coworkers, because that happened to me the other day when I walked in to the lounge and some of my coworkers were yapping about prison, and one of them was like, "Oh, I just don't think prisoners should get, free education." And I was like, "Well, you could at least give them something when you force them to be firefighters, with poor, no little to no equipment or training." And they just kind of looked at me like, weirdo. But you can't help it eventually.
One of my coworkers, her husband is literally a federal agent.
Oh.
And he was
God damn it, Cruz!
At one point
in danger.
And I was like, I
Cruz
need
is the
to not talk to these people.
No.
I need to keep most of my personal life separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hide all my Stalin tattoos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should definitely get them. Link them to the podcast. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. They had asked me like a new guy typed in like, "Oh man, what are some of your hobbies?" And I was just like, I like to read.
I like to read a lot.
I like to read.
I like reading about historical revolutions.
I'm really into politics.
That's what I say when people are like, "Oh, you do the YouTube," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's mostly politics." And they're like, "Oh, like what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you wouldn't get it."
The one guy was telling me about how when he was in the Navy, they were sailing by the Red Sea, and some pirates attacked us, and he was like, "We blew them out of the fucking water."
Oh my god!
Just like, and I was like, "Oh my, you were way too excited about that."
Yeah.
I was on a 6,000-ton war machine full of death. I can wipe out a small country with this if I wanted to. Jesus Christ, dude!
Yikes!
I don't actually.
I walk around with a 6,000-ton war machine on my behind every day.
That little mouse has got the wagon, and if you want to see Kuba's wagon, check out the
just to 5,000 subscribers, and you'll get a booty pic.
All right, you heard it here the first time. All 12 of you, booty pic and get us to 5,000 subscribers. He didn't say whose booty, but we can gaslight you guys into thinking that.
We can do like a raffle, like
a raffle, like.
So you put all our names on the wheel, and every time we hit a milestone, you spin the wheel.
Oh my god!
And that person has to show their ass on camera.
I would say we don't have enough of a cult following, but considering the Earl background, I think we definitely do. Anyway, a lot in the news to talk about. Not a theory episode for you guys. I particularly wanted to touch on the matters between Ecuador and Mexico and take you guys down that rabbit hole. Talk a little bit about the student loan forgiveness that is supposed to be happening. Who fucking knows when?
I think it already technically started.
Yeah, so I saw that, and I really hope Big Dog Dark Brandon comes through, because I just got a notification. It was weird, right? I got an email and it was like, "Oh, your student loan payment is due. It's $393." And I was like, "Wait a minute, I paid that last month." And I was thinking that I paid that last month, and I figured because I ignored my loan for like 4 months. So I was like, "Yeah, I probably just stacked up, and I got a little extra cash. I'll get these bastards off my back." So I decided to do that. And then I got a notification today or yesterday, and I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. And I looked into it, and yeah, 100%, that is my regular student loan payment. I'm a nurse, for fuck's sakes. Why am I being punished for doing a job that nobody wants to do? Like, that's bananas. And I don't even have that much student loan debt. I have about $9,000. So you're telling me okay, so that's fine. I'll pay $400 a month if you don't charge me interest, because then I'll pay off that loan in what, a year? Year and a half, 2, whatever. I'm not good at math. That's why I'm a nurse. But like, my point is, like, that $400 a month is gonna last me years if that doesn't get resolved. So I got to call them next week and be like, I'm poor, and I'm also a communist, so I'm not paying.
So I had told, I can't remember exactly who it was that had my loan. Great Lakes, that's who it was. And they had called me because during lockdown they paused all those payments, and I just never started paying again. And they had called me and they're like, "Hey, are you going to pay this? Like, you're way behind on your payments." And I said, "I'm not going to pay that." And they said, "Oh," and that was kind of it. And then a couple of years go by, and now they sold it to another company, I guess.
Yeah.
Or like it got absorbed into another company, and they messaged me and they're like, "Hey, this is your monthly payment." And I said, "No, it's not. My monthly payment is $0 because I'm not paying you."
Ed Cutie, how much student loans did you take out?
So, all right. So I'm doing pretty good right now, actually, because I do get good grades and I have a bunch of like scholarships and stuff like that. So I actually owe nothing right now. I mean, I owe like $6,000 in like federal student loans, but I count that as $0. But I am gonna probably be in like $20,000 of debt, 20 to 30,000 in the next year.
Bother
of some of the things I'm trying to do.
I can't wait for you to move into your new home abroad, and you're like showing us pictures of your new place, and then you're like, I got mail, and it's from the U.S. State Department, and it's like, you owe us $30,000.
No, dude, it's gonna be so awful. Like it actually, like, it drives me insane just to think about it, because like if I work in Ireland where I'm going,
right,
I have to pay an income tax to the United States. I'm not working there. Why do I have to pay an income tax to you douchebags? What is this?
Who rules the world?
How are you talking about?
Who rules the world?
I looked it up and I was like, you know what? It
USA.
must be the case for every country, and I just didn't know this key part of fucking economic theory or whatever. Know what I mean? And I look into it more. Dude, the United States is like one of like 2 countries in the whole fucking planet that does this.
What's the other one?
I have no idea. We'll look it up right now.
Look it up right now, because you can't leave us on that cliffhanger.
I know. It's probably more than 2, but it's less than 10 is my guess.
The suspense is killing me.
My camera had to refocus because of how intensely I'm waiting.
You got the anime.
It is 2. It's the United States and China. Those are
L China.
Damn
L
China.
God
damn China.
Damn it, China.
Larry's gonna come in here and freak out.
Don't. We can't talk too much shit about China. The spies.
Larry's gonna get in here and start talking about China again, and then
the haters will sabotage us.
The haters are gonna start coming out of the walls. Are you talking about China? Is this a possible criticism of China? They're gonna fucking explode in on themselves, bro.
I think Larry severely underestimated the maturity level of our fellow TikTokers, because they certainly lost their shit. Anyway, that's enough attention for them. So I wanted to go down this rabbit hole with you guys. As one of the comments just said, not beating the gossip allegations about the situation that occurred a couple days ago, or last week, whenever, between Ecuador and Mexico. So strap in, get a beverage. We're gonna go down this whole 0 days without mentioning China. I love that. All right, so here we go. So on April 5th, there was a very dramatic morning in Mexico. Actually, I should say late night, where basically a special detachment of Ecuadorian police, essentially special forces, raided embassy in Mexico in order to secure and capture a man named Jorge Glass. So Jorge Glass is an ex-vice president of Ecuador. He was in running with a man named Rafael Carrera. So basically, what was Jorge doing in Mexico? Jorge was in Mexico because he had been brought up on charges for allegedly taking $13.5 million from a Brazilian conglomerate called, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but I'm going to do my best, Odebrecht, which is Odebrecht. Okay. It is a multinational construction and energy company. Okay. So he gets brought up on fraud charges, bribery charges, all that stuff. Okay. So he basically gets sentenced. He's supposed to serve 8 years in prison in Ecuador. They eventually let him out of prison with the stipulation he can't leave the country. So he decides to make a gamble, escapes to Mexico, asks for asylum. Mexico grants him asylum. Okay. So we're going to do a little backtrack.
Okay.
So who is Rafael Carrera, the person that he had been in power with? So Rafael was president of Ecuador, I'm not sure if consecutively, from 2007 to 2017. And he was a democratic socialist. He's particularly known for allying himself with Hugo Chavez. Listen, I would love another Marxist, at least one Marxist-Leninist in South America, but that's why it's
we
called
got
the
a
pink wave.
goddamn
That's why they call it the pink wave, not the red.
Social
red
Democrats
tide.
in the global South are significantly more left-wing than in the global North, so it's okay.
For real.
They get a pass from man.
Thank you, white man. So yeah, he was particularly known for being allied with Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. Their administration together was able to increase government spending for social programs, reducing poverty. They were able to raise the minimum wage to decrease poverty from 36 to 22% of the population. Rafael was sent to prison himself after being found guilty for what they called aggravated passive bribery from another corporation, and in connection to, I wrote here a kidnapping, but I actually think it's an assassination. I'd have to double check, of the opposition candidate, Fernando Badilla. Okay. So homie's in prison and his right-hand man is on the lam. Okay. So you can see from, battling poverty and trying to feed people, he's kind of a bad guy. We shouldn't fuck with him. Okay.
Right.
So we have two politicians, both on the left wing, both charged with some kind of corruption. All right. So here we go. In 2014, Brazil and the United States Department of Justice started what's called Operation Lavo. It's Portuguese, so I'm just going to say it in English. Operation Car Wash. And basically, the idea was for the United States and Brazil to combat corruption, basically, in Latin America. And the United States has a very long history of doing very good things in Latin America. So according to the United States, they have the right to investigate any major transactions made between corporations and politicians that use US dollars. Now, before we continue, I just want to give a shout out to Isha, who let us use her platform to host the Historically podcast, because she put a lot of this together. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm just getting this out of my ass. Like she did the legwork. Go follow her on Twitter.
Please
go follow her on Historically. That's why we have Lumpy here. So
think a
Right,
bird
so
slammed into my window.
basically, in 2014, the U.S. gets carte blanche to do whatever it wants in Latin America, like they always do. Okay. In 2016, the company Oberdeck, remember that's the company that, what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Jorge, got in trouble with supposedly taking a bribe from. So Oberdeck was found guilty of bribing foreign agents, in the tune of $3.5 billion. So I'm going to read to you guys a little excerpt from the DOJ's website about this. Okay, so bear with me. It's going to be a lot of yapping, but we're cooking.
Please, yeah. I want you to yap.
Oberdeck and Braskem plead guilty and agree to pay at least $3.5 billion in global penalties to resolve largest foreign bribery case in history. This is December 21st, 2016. So Oberdeck, a global construction conglomerate based in Brazil, a Brazilian petroleum company, pleaded guilty today, agreed to pay a combined total penalty of at least $3.5 billion to resolve charges with authorities in the United States, Brazil, and Switzerland, arising out of their schemes to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to bribes to government officials around the world. Okay. So we're going to go down a little bit because there's a lot of yapping. These resolutions, this is a quote, these resolutions are a result of extraordinary multinational effort to identify, investigate, prosecute a highly complex and long-lasting corruption scheme that resulted in the payment by the defendant companies of close to $1 billion in bribes to officials at all levels of the government in many countries, said U.S. Attorney Capers. In an attempt to conceal their crimes, the defendants used global financial systems, the World Bank, including the banking system in the United States, to disguise the source and disbursements of bribe payments by passing funds through a series of shell companies. The message sent by this prosecution is that the United States, working with its law enforcement partners abroad, will not hesitate to hold responsible those corporations and individuals who seek to enrich themselves through corruption of the legitimate functions of the government, no matter how sophisticated the scheme. Now, boys, does the United States go after corruption and bribery schemes out of the goodness of their heart?
Obviously, that's what the movies say.
Okay. Q, do you got input?
Global force for good.
Well, I mean, of course, the freedom and democracy, right?
All right. So let's listen to this. And this is from the DOJ. Under the plea agreement, the United States would credit the amount that Oberdeck pays to Brazil and Switzerland over the full term of their respective agreements, with the United States and Switzerland receiving 10% each of the principal of the total criminal fine, and Brazil receiving the remaining 80%. The fine is subject in an inability to pay analysis to be completed by the Department of Justice and Brazilian authorities on March 31st, 2017. Because Oberdeck, as represented, it's only able to pay approximately $2.6 billion over the course of respective agreements, sentencing has been scheduled. Okay. Under the respective plea agreements, Oberdeck and its subsidiary Braskem, BRASKEM, are required to continue their cooperation with law enforcement, including connection with the investigations and prosecutions of individuals responsible for criminal conduct. Oberdeck and Braskem also agreed to adopt enhanced compliance procedures to retain independent compliance monitor for 3 years. The cases are assigned to U.S. District Judge Raymond, blah, 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 blah. So, boys, to me, that sounds like we're going to forgive your ass if you work with us.
Yep.
All right. So remember, Jorge Glass, the Ecuadorians raided the Mexican embassy to get him, was put on charges for what? Taking bribes from Oberdeck. Okay. And Oberdeck, since 2016, is working with the DOJ. So let's go down the rabbit hole, right?
Do it.
In 2023, it was found by the Brazilian Supreme Court that Oberdeck has been using trumped up and fake evidence to target Latin American politicians in order for them to lose their positions or to be resigned or to be couped. And solely based off evidence provided by Oberdeck. which is being handled by the United States. So over here we have an article from Brazil Wire. And again, all this information was put together by our friend Esha on Historically. The U.S. and lawfare meet and the Latin American leader under investigation. In his academic paper, The Uncomfortable Truth and Double Standards of Bribery Enforcement, legal scholar Mike Correller shows how the U.S. government selectively uses Foreign Corrupt Practices Act to advance its own objectives. How the U.S. government actively participates in bribery, how the highest level U.S. government knowingly engaged in support of private bribery, how the identity of alleged bribe payers influence the U.S. government enforcement of bribery laws. The subtle difference between the U.S. government and private sector's attempts to influence foreign government actions, and how the U.S. government employs overblown, inconsistent rhetoric regarding bribery enforcement. It is common knowledge that the CIA gave away bags of money to government officials in Afghanistan. So why would the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and the FBI be so worried about corruption in Latin America that the United States government would prioritize the issue in 2017? In Brazil, where a joint investigation between the SEC, the FBI, and the DOJ with federal police and public prosecutor's office has resulted in one indirect impeachment and the probable imprisonment of ex-president Lula, who lifted 36 million people above the poverty line for reforms to an apartment the prosecutors have been unable to prove he has ever owned or set foot in. People are beginning to wonder if Obradich Construction Company is being used as a Trojan horse by the U.S. government to commit lawfare against politicians who are not fully aligned with their geopolitical objectives. As the U.S. government lies its pockets with fines collected during the Lava Jato, which is car wash, $210 million from Obradich and Braskin alone. I would also like to take a look at which Latin American leaders have been arrested or accused and speculate as to why the U.S. government may not consider them to be allies. This includes Michelle Bachelet, ex-president of Chile, Lula da Silva, ex-president of Brazil. Oh, hold on. My mouse is bugging out.
I just want to say he's also now the current president.
When did you get in here?
Surprise!
He was
Surprise, Shorty.
It's Earl.
We have 105 viewers right now, y'all. Current president Lula da Silva, Dilma Rousseff, ex-president of Brazil, Jorge Glass, who we were talking about, Ollanta Humala, ex-president of Peru, Alexandra Toledo, ex-president of Peru, Marcio Funes, ex-president of El Salvador, Ricardo Martinelli, ex-president of Panama, Cristina Kirchner, ex-president of Argentina. So you're telling me all these presidents, all these politicians who all get some kind of allegation for taking money or bribes from sometimes Obradich directly, sometimes other other entities, but that evidence is only coming from Obradich, who is working with the U.S. State Department and the DOJ. I'm just saying, and for the record, this is a joke. This is a goof, a gaff.
For the record, I don't mean it.
I
Let
don't really believe
record show.
It's a joke.
I support free market capitalism. Someone's going to quote that one day. But it seems to me there's some fuckery going on south of the border.
Going on.
I mean, I feel like there's historical precedents for stuff like this happening, you know? Like there's a track record. Why would the US do this again?
Well,
it seems very, dare I say, France coded.
Are you saying the Americans are stinky like the French?
I suppose. I mean, I am something of a stinky guy, time to time.
True.
Yeah, I believe that.
Right. So I'm just saying it kind of looks like we're not doing the whole freedom and democracy thing, it just looks a little funny.
We don't do freedom and democracy. We just spread it. Our own special version of it.
Listen, yeah, guys, we're liberating them from their poor choices that negatively affect us. Okay. Jeez.
See,
why can't you understand that?
We understand as Americans. We understand that the people in these other countries, they're just so impoverished. They clearly can't make choices like that on their own, and we need to step in to make sure they follow the correct path.
This is gonna be a fucking satire live, bro.
you could
everything
see,
we say is opposite. I promise. We're kidding.
You could see it perhaps, my friends, and all new people who are watching Jesus Christ. Maybe this is a white man's burden. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, there we go.
So, jokey jokes aside, obviously this is coming off, the coattails of the pink wave, which is not a red tide like I was saying before, but it's a result of the contradictions contradicting. As things are getting worse in the world, policies and politicians are moving, in one direction or the other. In this case, in Latin America, there is a lot of, when it comes to Brazil or Nicaragua, Mexico, even Colombia, there is a movement to the left. It's not socialism and it's not communism yet, but it is
give it time.
How do you call it? Concessions are being made either consensually or not by the ruling class, and eventually when those concessions aren't enough, there will be revolutionary movements growing and expanding in Latin America. The United States has a vested interest in stopping this because they know that if there are real, engaged in war revolutionary movements happening all over Latin America, it is only a matter of time that the United States will, in a joking manner, meet its comeuppance, because it's not so much that all of a sudden the people here will be inspired. That's a big part of it, but it's also the United States is going to have to contribute more manpower, more resources, more money into putting down these movements in Latin America. And right now, as you can see, with the United States pivot to Asia, getting ready to go to war with China within the next, hopefully later, rather than sooner. Not pro war, but
make it happen.
I don't want millions of people to die.
I was fully expecting you to give a date there, in 7 months when the United States goes to war with China.
That'd be crazy, bro.
January 1st,
DraftKings,
2032. Following the invasion of Taiwan, the reclamation.
Well, considering all the communist commentary on the new Fallout hit TV show on Prime TV, sponsored by Prime,
it was actually good. I was watching it before I got.
Don't spoil it. I'm not done. Well, that's what I took so long to get on here. We're on the last episode, and I was like, "All right."
Oh, me too, bro. Me too.
I was saying to my partner, I
feel left out. I haven't started it.
Bro, you gotta watch. We'll yap.
Well, yeah.
And as a big Fallout fan, I actually really like it. But anywho's, so what the hell was I saying? Basically, the United States, as they're trying to pivot towards Asia, which is clearly not working because they're losing control of their pet hound, that is Israel, in West Asia, or the Middle East. They can't. The United States' military is fragile. It cannot fight a conflict on multiple fronts. So it is imperative that they stop these revolutionary movements with lawfare rather than blood and bullets. And they'll use other people's blood and bullets before they start using their own.
Yeah.
But eventually the United States is going to have to reconcile with that. And that's not looking good, bruh, for the United States. So
the United States financially is just already spread thin too, not only with Israel, but you've got Ukraine still, and they're going to try to put down all these revolutions, and they're going to try to go to war with China and potentially Iran.
Well, we really are in the midst of a massive. It's basically an economic world war between our capitalists and the capitalists of emerging countries.
Yeah.
Particularly with with Russia and China, Vietnam, etc. And it's we're already spread thin because now the bureaucracy of our country is basically being devoted to trying to sort these issues out. Like you can see it with how desperately they're trying to do stuff with TikTok. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. They're trying to shut it down. Like they're panicking. Exactly. And you're seeing that so much with the, everything that's escalating in Palestine. And, not that any of us, want that to continue, but if there's any good thing that's come out of this, it's the much more blatant recognition, even from not enough liberals, but a minority of liberals realizing that this shit can't keep going. And it's interesting, right? Because that's why the United States, that's why Joe Biden is talking about trying to cancel student debt again, because he knows he's going to lose the election. Donald Trump or the Republican candidate, either one will be the next president. That is for sure going to be what's going to happen.
Yep.
And things will get worse domestically, of course, but things are going to get worse because that's what's happening with the contradictions of capital. And then on the other front, shoot, I was going to bring this back into Vietnam, but now I got it. Okay, so like for those who don't know, I'm going to look her up real quick. Cruz, introduce us while I look up her name.
I actually had her name right here.
Oh, so you curious.
It's a real estate tycoon.
Shoulders.
I'm going to say this name wrong. Real estate tycoon Trong My Lan. She stole, it says, $12.5 billion. And it lists that as nearly 3% of Vietnam's 2022 GDP.
Yeah.
So just like a metric fuck ton of money.
And there's some sweet, sweet justice coming her way.
Yeah, and
it's
a good it's a good comparison because like China as well with their real estate market, they straight up told the real estate class or the billionaire class they're not getting bailouts because the real estate market is failing. They don't care. It's against the people. And it's good juxtaposition to see like how Vietnam, China deal with billionaires when they inevitably do billionaire shit. And how the United States does it, whereas we'll give them bailouts, we'll give them a slap on the wrist or do some other shit to distract everyone. Whereas Vietnam is straight up putting this person to death.
Let's go.
They're like, you cannot pay to win in Vietnam.
Yeah.
You are fucked. Like you did this and you genuinely can just not repay this. You cannot come back from this. It's
the news showed up on my For You page today, and I actually I almost tweaked out. I was so hyped.
I saw that this was not the point I was about to bring up, but it goes back to the original point. Like with that stuff on the For You page, because that's where I saw it on TikTok. Most comments coming from people who aren't communists, who I would say are probably more default liberal, are like, can we do this in the United States? Like unironically. So like that's the thing with capitalist contradiction is there's an inherent drumbeat that has been going for decades and young people are recognizing it, but they don't either have the language or the education, they don't have the political theory to understand these things on a greater scale, but there is a basic understanding that like we should kill these motherfuckers, right? Like what are we doing, guys? Like
people are starting to, they say eat the rich all the time, right? People are starting to understand that it's like, no, literally eat them.
Right.
I mean, think about
this is not a phrase.
Like where we would be economically right now if we just seized the assets of the people in Wall Street that fucked us over in 2008.
Bro,
yeah.
Like if we just seized their assets instead of giving them a blank check bailout, like this isn't even communist stuff. If we just seize the assets, right? Think of where we would be right now.
It'd be ridiculous.
People, we would probably be like, well, you know what? I'm really excited about Bernie Sanders' new election in 2032. I know he's 900 years old.
I like that voice with the mouse profile picture.
Yeah, I'm fucking Stuart Little. Communist
right.
Stuart Little.
I think I'll have a mouse next week. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, so like there's this default like feeling that we know that like we got to get rid of these people because I think we've all intrinsically not us in particular, but normies suppress the idea that like there is something inherently flawed in this society that we live in. And I think that's where the reactionary comes in, because then you get people who don't want to admit that or want to hold on to the past, the mythical past, which is where fascism comes in. And also Vietnam is not dilly-dallying with putting her to death. I'm pretty sure they're doing it in
it's
2
happening
weeks.
pretty quick. Let me see if I can find that exact thing here. These are not the numbers I want. This particular article doesn't say exactly when it's going to happen.
While you look for that real quick, while Cruz is searching for that, to 193 people on Twitter or X, please follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, Kollectiv TV, or join the Kollectiv Discord or Kollectiv TV TikTok. Please. Anyway,
I'm begging you. I'm begging you.
If you get us to 1,000, we'll finally be in the goddamn algorithm after a year of doing this nonsense. Being a bunch of fake commies. Oh man, did you find it?
No, I'm still looking.
Of
X,
course.
the everything app.
It just has the damn date that she was arrested, which was today.
That was today? I thought it was yesterday.
It was probably yesterday, but it was all reported on today.
All right, Vietnamese billionaire being put to death. Is it not girl boss? If I forgot her name,
it's not that girl boss of you.
All right, 5-minute read. She's 67. She's lived her life, bro. But here's the thing, right? So it's my understanding that despite Vietnam's mixed economy situation, it's a poor country, particularly in the rural areas. And there's been a lot of issues with modernization, yada, yada, yada. So not only did she take $3.5 billion? Well, I think I'm mixing that up with the other number. But not only did she steal essentially 3% of the country's wealth,
12.5 billion.
12.5 billion.
There was also another number. Someone in the chat had pointed it out. Another number that has been propositioned is as high as 44 billion.
All right, so she stole a fuck ton of money of a country that has struggled, especially in the wake of an imperial conquest that went on for almost a century. There are people who need that money. Not only would that be bad here in the States, but like the proletariat condition here in the States is a lot better than a lot of places in the world. So like, just think about how much worse her crime is. Just how much she really stole from those people who really need it. So I do think she had a good run later, Tater. I do think those she's getting her just desserts. But I, for one, if I had my communist dictatorship, we would have just did that shit in the courtroom. But that's okay.
Right there, you just shoot her.
Guilty.
I honestly,
her niece was
I don't
also
even think we would go on.
Her niece is also sentenced. I'm finding out here, 17 years in prison for aiding her.
Nice.
So her fucking niece was helping her too.
Baller. I would just like let her live. Know what I mean? I would just like put her in the gulag and like televise her working all day. Just be like, this is what happens.
Oh, that'd be great.
Just like real hard labor. Just real hard labor being televised the whole time. Like it can be like a TV show for people. Know
they
what
could
I mean? Like,
live
it could be
stream
like it could be like live, like the Truman Show, but like watching capitalists have justice.
They should pair her up with like a no nonsense like single mom who like cleans this whole office building like top to bottom. you know, and then
Did this
and like
become a sitcom?
she still goes home to do like help with her kids' homework and make dinner and whatever, and she always falls asleep in her recliner to go back to work, and like just pair her up with that woman and have that woman just kick the dog shit out of her.
What would the
I
theme
think-
song for this be?
I like this comment.
That's what's
I like
gonna.
this episode
That's
of
what's gonna
Black Mirror.
truly. What'll truly sell me is whatever theme song you come up with for that, because that's what I need for that show.
Let's see. I can't find when she's going to be put to death, but I did want to point out here, according to the Times, our Time magazine, they said this sentence that caught my eye. Where is it? Still, that draconian punishment handed to Lan is already having effects, with businesses complaining of bureaucratic paralysis due to officials now too scared to do their job. Even approving a new project will take a lot of time because people are really afraid of making decisions, says Yang Hep. Meanwhile, suggests Lan's death may sentence. That sentence is really strange. Suggests Lan's death sentence, there we go, may well be counterproductive and overturned on appeal. The main quote, the main point is to recover the losses and maintain investor confidence in the judicial system and the economy, says Hip. And
if they kill us, how
regard.
are we supposed to invest?
If
I
we
can't short the
steal-
stocks,
we
dead.
can't steal
if we can't
the
steal
money,
from you,
then
then
there's
why
no
would we even do
billionaires.
business,
And if there's
man?
no billionaires, then god damn it, there's no economy. And
That's a
the
TikTok clip.
I'm gonna put you into fucking gulag after that, brother. That was too convincing. I think you have ambitions beyond revolution, brother.
That's going on TikTok.
I can
As long
smell
as you
it.
stream it.
I can smell it in you.
As long as you stream it, that's all I want.
You've been talking about sniffing a lot, bro.
It's because he's a mouse.
Well, you know. Can you hear me sniffing?
You know what I smell? Crime. All right, I thought that was funny. Fuck
Fantastic.
you. Anyway,
Tommy's Batman sniffing people.
fuck the billionaires. Fuck this lady. Fuck capitalism. You want to talk about Fallout?
That's okay. Is that where
I
like the games. I have not played, or I have not.
All right.
Watched.
I just want to.
I think maybe it would be better to do like a whole thing on it, like in a week. But if we could yap about it a little bit, kind of just like vibe.
Okay. Just a few sentences, because we can do a whole thing about it. I really like, and I'm gonna be vague, but I think you'll know what I'm talking about. I really like the scene wherein one of the main characters is talking to the guy in the bar, and they're talking about going to the communist meeting.
Yes.
Because exactly, I'm like, bro, I've had this conversation with people.
You're like, that's me. It's me.
Literally. I'm like,
hold on.
Bro.
It's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, he's gonna do it.
Oh, oh, oh.
You gotta whistle. Nah, it was a weak ass whistle. But anyway, I thought it would be stronger. I don't whistle often, but anyway, I really like this.
And it was like,
put my fucking.
It wasn't bad, but it was It was very quiet. So, anyway, yes, that's Nebula's profile picture in Discord. But anyway, I really like that scene because I've had that conversation with people, and I really like the scene later when he's in the meeting and he mentions about you support an ideology that ends in breadlines, which makes me laugh because that character is part of a bourgeois, right? And in the Fallout lore, that's exactly what was happening in America at the time because of failing capitalism, because of the energy crisis, that people were rioting for food and stuff. So like, he's literally, that's the liberal. The liberal will literally say anti-communist stuff when capitalism is falling apart around them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're like, well, it'll be worse. It'll be worse. It'll be worse. Like, what do you mean it'll be worse? It's literally always gotten better for the people. Like, I don't know.
No, wrong. No.
Nuh-uh,
stupid. This is some highbrow podcast talk.
No. No, source. Provide source. You're wrong. Source.
What are you, Praxman?
No, I wouldn't have asked you for a source. I would have just brought up a bunch of random ass people.
He also
wow,
This
dropped an
random
answer the other
historian
day.
from 900 years ago. He says
This fascist sympathizer definitely has the definition of fascism correct.
this guy is literally a Nazi. I'm sure he understands, he has a good idea that the communists were actually Nazi. Like, bro, what?
The crazy part about that conversation, and for all the random newbies here, if you want to hear us yap more, follow us on TikTok on Kollectiv TV, where you can catch these conversations happening. What's crazy is that he had brought up, I had asked him about, because he was saying that basically Stalin sided with Hitler, which is not true, and he wanted to side with Hitler, which is not true, and that's why they helped the Nazis. And I was like, okay, well, but like, how do you reconcile the Soviets wanting to go to war with them before 1940? And he was like, well, it was actually just one guy who said that, not Stalin. And you know what happened to him? Stalin put him to death, implying that he was put to death at that time. But someone on the panel
Just
looked
right
it
then
up
and there.
and was like, he died literally after World War II.
Yeah, he died in like 1953 or something like that, which is like literally like 15 years after that conversation would have been happening in the first place.
Right. So Major extremely
So clearly
Calvin,
he was killed for that reason.
And then he was like, all right, well, he was removed from his position before, and it's like he wasn't in that position, but he was still ambassador to the United States until 43. Like, I don't.
right.
It's like if you take a new job and you say you got fired from the other one, even though it's literally a promotion, or like how for the longest time I called my wife my ex-girlfriend because technically, yes.
I mean, to be fair, if you're moving from being in charge of general or in some sort of leadership position of like general
to an ambassador
to being an ambassador, you're basically being like, sent out to just like hang around in another country.
But you're not executed.
Yeah.
Until 15 years later.
Big dummy. I think Praxman just doesn't want to get the Vietnam treatment, to be fair. And that certainly
Praxman would need to have money for that.
That's true.
Praxman is too busy, like gerbils or hamsters, like at the when they're in their little cage or whatever, they're fucking basically their terrarium, right? And they have the little syringe thing where they suck the water out.
Mm-hmm.
That's him. He's like there trying to get that delicious fee money, that delicious oil money. He's like, please, a little bit more. Like,
yeah, I can see that. All right, boys. I think we yapped enough. What do you think?
That was a good yap.
I concur. We're gonna have to definitely do this more on using Twitter, because there's definitely some people watching from there.
Some.
There's a couple of them over there.
Yeah. So again, I gotta do the YouTube spiel. Smash that like button and hit that bell. No, but for real,
subscribe.
On YouTube, YouTube Kollectiv TV, where we post video essays and host a podcast, usually on a weekly basis. You can follow the link there to join that Kollectiv Discord if you'd be interested in that. You could also follow us individually on TikTok. That's all on the YouTube page already. And follow us on Twitter, which, if this many of you are here, by golly gee, we should definitely be posting on there more.
Absolutely.
And if you haven't figured it out, we're communists. So, yeah.
What?
Oh my god.
Dun, dun,
oh, great
dun.
heavens.
I gotta go. My mom said I can't hang out with the communists.
Anyway, so we're going to play a little outro here. Goodbye, everyone, and have a good night.